Evening folks, this is BestInSlot and we are back with our Planet Zoo park build with our biggest build yet. Now as you may notice, we are doing a full-on time-lapse for this video. This is going to be 20 or so minutes of pure time-lapse just because the build was so big. It's about a 3-hour plus build that I decided cutting it, and you'd miss so much building if I didn't do it like this. So yeah, sorry about that brief Spotify. You have to blast some music while doing this kind of thing. So, what are we building today? Well, we are going to build a rainforest house. Not quite a reptile house, but a rainforest house. The idea being, we're going to have other species in there as well. We're going to have terrarium animals, you know, the spiders and the scorpions, blah, 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 blah. Not scorpions, we're going to have spiders and tarantulas. And the snakes. We're going to have the gharial, we're going to have the Nile monitor, and we're also going to have lemurs. I've got a pretty cool planned exhibit at the end of this building, but in order for that exhibit to come to fruition, which I'm sure I'll talk about later on in the video, we need a big building. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is my first big project, really. I will say this is not where my talents lie, so it's not... I don't know if it's an amazing end result, it's definitely not, but it looks okay. We got to okay, that's what matters. So my theory building it really was I wanted a modern looking building. I really like, this is going to sound a little preachy, not preachy, blah blah blah, I don't know what the term is, but it's like my old flat. I used to have these big brick walls along with very modern materials, and something I really like about mixing very natural materials with very modern materials. So this is a very modern looking building. As you can see already, we're using the New World wood, we're using this really nice glass with this fractured pattern, and this is basically the only materials we're going to use for the entire build. And then inside and outside, it's going to be this very lush, very sort of wild-looking rainforest. So I think it creates a really interesting dichotomy between the two that makes the building really interesting. Hopefully. That was the plan. That's what I was rolling with anyway. Plus, it was just nice to mess with materials like this. You know, we've been playing in the African adventure since the start of the game, basically, and whilst I've really enjoyed it, everything had to be slightly rugged and, you know, have that kind of African kind of feel, very cliche African feel, admittedly. Made a little creeper there. So what I'm doing here, really, I mean, I'm kind of just making this up, to be honest. I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I was going to use these materials. I was going to make a big building and fill it with glass and fill it with wood. Except at the back, because the idea is, so to explain the lemur/gharial exhibit as I see it in my head, and it's going to be towards the end of this building, so it's like the backdrop for the entire rainforest house, is essentially there's going to be a gharial pool with a waterfall feeding into it, and if you go up to about midway through, towards the top of the waterfall, but just above midway I'd say, there's going to be a path behind the waterfall, and hopefully I'm going to do it so the guests will be able to walk behind the waterfall. You'll be able to walk behind the actual dropping water, and if you looked down you'd see the gharial exhibit below, which I think sounds amazing. But to add to that a little bit more, because we didn't do the lemurs back in Africa, because I came up with this idea, we're going to make that pathway into a lemur exhibit. So it'll sort of look like the lemurs and gharials are together, they're definitely not, but the lemur exhibit will overlook the gharial exhibit, basically. And you'll be able to walk along, because lemurs are a walk-through animal, so we can do a walk-through exhibit, as in where humans can walk through and not get scared away. So you'll be walking along this wooden barrier, waterfall dropping off the side by the, you know, the waterfall dropping off to the side. I tried this, I thought I could be cheeky and put the buildings together, and then I realised I hate it, so had to do it the long way. Yeah, that's basically the idea. You're going to walk around this wooden bridge really high up in the building, look down to see the gharials, have lemurs running around with you. I just think it's a very cool idea. So we had to build a building that could accommodate that idea, and that's what I was going for here. And like I said, I had no plan here. I just shoved in walls, shoved in glass, and hoped for the best, really. And we're going to see quite a lot of that until the end of the build. Had to just, even the size, to be honest, I didn't plan. I did have a reference image online initially, mainly for the front of the building. I found this very nice little glass and wood building that I really liked the look of. I've got to say, I was struggling. I stared at my screen for a solid half hour before I decided on the rough idea of what I was going to do here. This kind of pock-marked wooden building with glass sort of seeping in at the sides. It doesn't really come together towards the end. I've seen that with a lot of my builds. The Gemsbok the other day, for example, it looked awful for about 25 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes of the video it comes together a little bit more. I feel the same thing happens here. It's definitely not the best building in the world, but it does get better towards the end. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. I know this is how a lot of other YouTubers do their builds, but I think a lot of other YouTubers do more big impressive builds than I do. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm trying really hard not to sing. I've got Spotify on at the moment. I'm really trying not to sing along to it in the background. So I think one of the key things about Planet Zoo is knowing where your strengths lie. Like, I see a lot of people who comment, people have been really nice about my zoo, really complimentive, saying, they couldn't build like that, blah, 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 blah. The thing is, I'm not a great builder. You'll see from this building, I am not a fantastic builder. It's really not where my strengths lie. If you go watch Rudy Rencamel or Sylv or Lady Designer or any of the other prominent Planet Zoo people covering Planet Zoo, basically, they are better builders than I am, much better builders than I am. I'm going to get better, but I just don't do the detail. And it's hard on a building this size, I'll admit, without spending 10 trillion hours, but generally speaking, I don't spend as much time detailing buildings and stuff like that as they would do. Honestly, like, anyone could build these zoos I do, but what I will say, my strengths lie in, and we'll see it again towards the end of this, I think, is in the detail around the buildings, in the enclosures, and in making things feel like an actual zoo. I think I'm pretty good at that, better at that than most people. Not to pick myself up, I do think that's where my speciality is making something that feels like an actual alive zoo kind of thing. So I kind of play to that, right? I don't tend to go for big builds like this. We're probably not going to do this again, because this is way too much for me. And that's it. That's the key. If your skill is in big buildings or big designs, then focus on that. If your skill is in other areas, then focus on that. And you can still make an amazing looking zoo at the end of it either way. Everyone's got different talents. And I will say, I've had a lot of comments about it. I'd never played Planet Coaster. I think I played about half an hour once for a single video. The building system in this game is complex, and I'm still not really that used to it or very good at it, but it is something you can get used to pretty quickly as long as you put the time in. Everyone who's been worried about it, trust me, you can do it. You don't have to have had prior experience. Anyone can do it. I'm also going to tell you what I'm listening to on Spotify as the song changes. Currently listening to Plug and Baby by Muse. It used to be like one of my favourite bands. I saw them live and it was incredible at Wembley. Saw them live like 3 times actually. I've been resisting. Anyways, yes. See, there's not much to talk about here. I don't know what other YouTubers talk about. I haven't seen their videos, to be honest. But I'm just building the back wall here. We're keeping this very, very simple just because this is where that lemur/gharial exhibit is going to go, right against that back wall. This is at 10 times speed, by the way. Right against... 8 times speed, actually. Right against that back wall. Now we're going to try to build the glass roof. This killed me. I'm not gonna lie, this was hard work. At one point the grid became tiny. My major issue was honestly the grid just failing. Like, it was fine here, you can see I'm just putting all the pieces in and it's automatically going where it should be. Pretty much. At one point that basically stopped happening and I've had to stop manually adjusting it, much more than I expected I would have to. You see me raising and lowering the glass there. Now once I got one piece in, it was pretty easy. We could do the whole thing like that. Do a little Tetris. But by and large, I had a lot of problems getting the glass to work and to function correctly as a single gridded thing, basically. I will say, this building, the version you're going to see at the very end, will be going up on the workshop. I did make it all in one group. I was very dedicated this time to making sure it was a standalone group, so I can put it on the workshop. And hopefully, if blueprints do survive the beta purge, then, I'll be able to download it and use it in my future zoos as well. It costs about 60,000 to place though, so it's not cheap. I was going to say what songs this is, but I actually don't know the song. I need a chorus. Anyways, yes, so, again, didn't really have any plans for the glass. You may have noticed. It's literally, I just kind of stick stuff in and hope for the best. And then I had a little bit of a plan here, instead of having that flat bit completely, to make it a bit more interesting, to raise up that middle bit. So the middle part, where it sticks out of the front of the building, that extends out a little bit further down into the roof. This was surprisingly difficult, actually. Proved difficult to link the two together. It was okay for this bit, it gets harder in a minute. Yeah, getting that link between... Yeah, you see where I'm having problems here. I think that wasn't even the worst bit. We had to kind of redesign it in a moment. It was a pain. It was. But there are people who can handle this whole system better than I can. One of my main problems with Planet Zoo as a building system is that sometimes it's very, very strict about the grid. Stick to the grid, stick to the grid. You can't move your pieces around much unless you detach them from the grid. And then sometimes it just doesn't care. Like for half the ceiling we're about to do here. This was the bit that was a bit iffy. If you see here, it doesn't quite go with the 2 pieces at the side. The 2 meter pieces. What was I saying? Yeah, sometimes it's super strict about the grid and sometimes it's like, meh, do what you want. I don't care. So yeah, we had to redesign that sides a little bit because it just wasn't connecting with the new raised part, basically. So I redid that whole area to make it fit like so. And I think that worked out, yeah. Got a little zoom out there. And there we got everything to the same size. So I'm just going to do a relatively simple build for the rest of it, I think. Did that work? There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Skills to pay the bills, folks. Skills to pay the bills. Now, some people are insanely talented on this game, they really are. Here I was trying to come up with something unique to do for the roof. You'll see there I was messing around with the hexagon pieces. Somebody's made a geodesic dome. Check it out in the workshop. We're going to be highlighting it in the workshop video at the end of the week. I think it came out last week, but I'm going to cheat and include it anyway because it's so good. Sorry, I love this song. But we do bring the hexagon back later for a little bit of detail work, and I actually think it's the hexagon that saves the building. I think it makes it look about 10 times better, so keep in mind the hexagons. But you can make proper amazing looking geodesic domes. I think I'm going to make my own as well, and hopefully include that in a future exhibit because they are just awesome looking. They take a long time to do. They're not easy to do by any stretch of the imagination, but they do look great. We're going to use the hexagon in a very different way here. I think by and large I'm just filling in here. I think we raise it up again in the middle though. And this is really the key thing I think for glass roofing for me personally, is just keep changing up the elevation. Essentially, how it works is you've got 3 different heights. You've got 1 meter, 2 meter, and 4 meter. I think that's it. I don't think you get 3 meters. 1 meter, 2 meter, 4 meter angled pieces basically. So the 4 meter ones are the highest angle and they point the furthest up. So you can use those to create different elevations in your glass roof. I think it's quite easy to make glass roofs that look pretty boring, and I know this one did for a long time. It came together at the end. It's not my favourite part. It's definitely not something I'm particularly skilled at, I will say. But I love that that kind of cracked glass look. I think that's really good for this kind of building, you know, this kind of rainforest house essentially is what we're building. It's called... I do not remember. It's what is it called? It's basically, the name is Emerald House in Hindi. So I don't want it to seem like a reptile house. I want it to seem like a rainforest house. That's the idea. I want you to walk through the door and feel like you've been transported into like another world, basically, into this rainforest. That's the whole idea. And that's kind of my thing. That is where I'm good. So that's what we're going to focus on. Did a little cheeky bit in the middle just to make it more interesting. Again, just raise elevations, change things up a little bit, and you'll get a pretty okay looking building. Look at that night. It's nice, right? We'll get a better look at this at the end, I promise. So, I was stuck here for a little bit. I wasn't sure what to do. And decided, obviously, we need some wood because we need... Oh, we're about to find out the name. We need a signpost, right? I struggled with this a lot as well. We do kind of nail it at the end, but it takes some time. Panna Ghar, that's it, the Emerald House in Hindi. According to Google Translate, it could well be wrong. So we've got a little signpost there. I really wish we could have different fonts, by the way. I'm hoping in the final game we get those different fonts. Now, I went fairly default here at first, you know, putting in the little plants that everyone puts in and stuff like that. Because I thought it needed that splash of colour to make it more interesting. This was a mistake. We will end up getting rid of these pretty shortly. It kind of cheapens it. And it's okay for a lot of the zoo. You know, I do this kind of thing in lots of buildings all over the zoo, but although I kind of liked how this looked with the darker colours behind it, I thought that was pretty cool actually. And we might bring that back for some styling later on. I've not thought about that. I've kind of thought about that a little bit. Using the vines like that I think is pretty great. This is a bit where I just try lots of random things. But all this kind of vinyl work, it's okay for certain types of building, but I was going very, very modern in design. That was the whole point. This big modern building contrasts that with the rainforest inside. So it wasn't the right tactic, but I just... Look at the mini elephant. It just needed... I felt like it needed something, and I wasn't sure how to detail it to make it interesting until I settled on this. That bordering worked. We're going to stick this at the sides and then get rid of it because it clips over with the vinyl plants, but when we get rid of the vinyl plants, we bring that back. Now, foliage. You know I love foliage, and I really love foliage. We're not going to quite see all of it in the time-lapse. I have been doing a little bit more work on the surrounding area. But I wanted some of the foliage to be included within the basal design of the zoo. You know, I wanted it to feel fundamental to the building itself. So all of this is included in the blueprint. And as per usual, just a little tip there, by the way. Get your trees, drag them under the ground, and you can make bushes. There's so few bushes in the game. There we go. I made my decision. Get rid of the vinyl. Yeah, so trees and rocks and just stuff in the area to make it look a little bit more interesting. Obviously the bridge won't be there, the path won't be there, and the lake won't be there. Now, I know there's no gorilla, but the gorilla has a bit of a modern art kind of look to it, right? So I thought it'd fit fairly well. And we could put... Sorry. We could have put a gorilla in there if we so chose. But I did need a little subtitle. This is why I would like more fonts and also the ability to go for smaller fonts. I'd love it to say Panna Ghar Rainforest House in like a big... in like smaller text, but bigger than this text underneath it. Decided that the too modern sign doesn't quite fit, because at the end of the day, the whole point here is the play between modern and old-fashioned, or like natural, right? So that's what I'm rolling with. Plus, look at it lights up, it's baller. And then I just went to check out my shop, because I think my shop looks really cool at night. Basically, look at that, the watering hole at night looking lovely. Professional YouTubing. Considered the gorilla, very briefly. Resisted the roof gorilla. Now, at this point I was thinking, we need something to make the building pop. It's just, it's okay, it looks nice, but it's not, it's a little bit too much sort of plain glass on the front, right? It's just this big wall, and and there's me tabbing out to find my reference image. God, I'm a professional. At least I didn't tab out to watch porn or something. Oh god, right, anyways, do I include that in the video, what I just said? Yeah, okay. Anyways, this is me trying some detailing, you know, I was just trying to find stuff that we could fit in to make it a little bit more interesting. I did this little wooden bit at the front, sticks out a little bit, that's a step in the right direction, but I could not make it work with the side panels, which is what I mean about the grid sometimes being very strict and sometimes being a little bit soft. Trying this little edging here doesn't quite work out, it's a little bit too bright, so I decided to include some darker ones instead, and I think I did stick with these. Just trying different things out in the attempt to find a way to add detail that still fits with a very sort of clean, modern, simple aesthetic, essentially. I think I decided to go with this all the way. It's not really a big deal. So we're on our way. And I was still trying the panels, I just couldn't do it. But I really liked the look of it, the way it sort of sticks out a little bit over the rest of the building. Tried to add window frames as well, also couldn't do it. When you put down walls and stuff in this game, it kind of sticks onto the line, but it sticks to one side of the line, which I think is where a lot of building problems come from. I don't know why it's like that, to be honest, but it is. And that's why this didn't quite work out. Now, did come up with something here. We're going to use some white paneling and going to surround the entire roof with this. This was a big decision, because this is a lot of work for what is a fairly minor detail. I'm going to surround literally the entire building's roof with this white wooden paneling. It's not quite perfect, but from a distance it doesn't matter. Cough, cough. It took a while. It's a solid like 20-30 minutes work or something like that just on this white paneling stuff, but I do think it makes a fairly sizable difference to how the building looks. I think it really does a lot for the style of the building, so at the end of the day it was probably worth the effort. Someone tell me it was worth the effort. I already think it looks a lot better, because as the glass hits the wood, it's a little bit too clean, you know. It needed breaking up somehow. It needed something to suggest there's a connecting material there, you know, a way for the glass to attach onto the wood, because by default it kind of just looks like it's sitting there. You really want something to showcase, you know, to make your building look a little bit more realistic at the end of the day. Plus the white happens to go with the text and also with the acrylic paneling that we've got on some of the glass windows. I thought I liked it. What song's this? I'm not over it, but I'm closer every day. No idea. What else was I gonna do? Getting there. Now my theory also was, when we're finished, what we can do is grab the whole thing, drag it down, and maybe use it on the bottom, like as a little ridge around the bottom. Unfortunately, because this is so imperfect, and it really is imperfect, again, this is not my specialty, it just didn't work, it didn't fit properly. You'll see me try that in a second. But doesn't that look better? I honestly think that white detail really did a lot. Now listening to Cold in the City, acoustic version by Millington. That one I knew. So yeah, sorry, you're going to have to put up with me grabbing every single element of the roof here. It takes a little minute. And all for nothing. But this is kind of how I build. I am very spur of the moment. Things just kind of come together at the end. It's very rarely masterfully planned. Really, that's, you know, just who I am as a person. I'm not really a planner, to be honest. Sometimes I wish I was, but I'm just super not. I'm same with writing. I considered that briefly, having it going through the window or matching up with certain parts of the glass, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't worth it. At some point, this is going to come all together. I was trying here, messing around with things, what can we put on the front to make it come to life? And then the hexagons appeared. And things started to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Go in the city. So, made a little pan. I was okay with that, but needed finagling a little bit. So, decided to move the sign upwards to make it fit better in the centre of the hexagon. It's still not quite perfect just because of how the game is laid out. But we got closer, as you will see very shortly. And I think it makes a big difference. And then, so those are fairly stuck out of the building, right? They're there, but they're fairly stuck out a little bit. I also think they're a little bit too far to the right. You can also change the colour on them. I think it's pretty cool. Then had another idea. We take them, we bring those around, and we sink them into the wall a little bit. It creates that little bit of depth, which is one thing I do like playing with a lot, is different heights and stuff like that. So just sink them a little bit further back into the wall, and it just gives it a slightly interesting pattern. And I think that makes a world of difference. I honestly think it's 20 times better. It also gave me a aesthetic that I could use in the rest of the building. So there's a few hexagon patterns dotted around in other parts of the walls. I've not gone over the top with it. I would like to do a little more with it actually than I have done, but it's there and kind of making things look a little bit more interesting in areas that were maybe a little bit dull previously. Still not sure what to do with the back wall, but that back wall is getting covered in terrain, so it doesn't really matter. I thought about it and then decided it's useless, so we decided to do it over here. And if you flip the hexagon over and then sink it in, you get the hexagon pattern, but without the glass. So it just looks like a bit of acrylic design work, which I thought was pretty cool as well. And that's super not perfectly censored, but I just gave up. Alright, anyways, Panna Ghar, there it is, looking nice. Decided to recolour the letters. I don't know how people do this en masse. People keep saying you can do it, and I'm sure you can. But the problem is, it has to be its own individual group, and I've got no idea how you'd ever put letters as an individual group. I really don't. Unless you make a group, and then take out the other thing from the group. Actually, that's what we did in the past, and that does work. But I figured we'll just do it individually in a minute. More foliage! Oh, you think this is a lot of foliage? You wait till you see what I've done after the time lapse. Jesus. I spend half my life in this game putting down trees, and I think it's the key thing people miss, I've got to be honest. Especially when you're going for this tropical kind of feeling, which I really love. One thing I was really excited about this building for is because I love rainforests and that kind of thing. You know, Costa Rica is my favourite country on the planet. That kind of thing, I just love it. Decided to go for a little cobra. Say little, fairly large cobra, sink that in there, lovely stuff. Needed a little bit of something, just to, I know it's Indian themed and it's not an Indian themed building, but I thought that kind of still fit a little bit, and it's kind of, has that kind of natural ritualistic look, so it suits like a dense jungle, which I really like. How are we doing? You know what, only 2 minutes left, I'm not doing bad. Do I do anything else? We're gonna light the snake. Are we gonna light the snake? It's a frail man. So you can see it every now and again sinking the bushes down. The fern trees in particular are amazing at it. You get these big bushy ferns just by sinking the fern trees into the ground. It's really cool. I tried to resist. I tried. There you go. Panna Ghar, ladies and gentlemen. Nearly done. Nearly done? Nearly done. 2 minutes left. What am I doing? Oh yeah, decided to add a little archway and then double it up like 5 times. Just for a little bit of drama as you're walking in. You know, it should feel a little bit special, especially like once you get through the front. So we go for a triple layer on the inside. Did a little entrance and exit sign as well, just to make it feel more like a building you would find in an actual zoo, which is important. It really is. Experimented with some stuff on there, but it doesn't really work out. More trees. Again, it's important to get that shaded feel. I want you to feel like you were walking through a rainforest and then into a bigger rainforest, you know? Honestly, I think this is it. And this is tropical, by the way. All my plants I'm using here are tropical ones. There's no continent selected. It's literally biome tropical. And I just mixed everything together. The rainforest is not a specific region. And I honestly think they all go together. They just look like green tropical plants at the end of the day. So even if they don't necessarily live together, I think they still create a pretty good aesthetic. The bamboo, which I haven't used properly yet, but again makes a very nice bush as it happens. I love those plants. Might be my favourite plant in the game. I can't remember what it's called, but that little green ferny looking thing. Oh, beautiful. And rocks, folks. Don't forget the rocks. Rocks will change your life, I'm telling you. Sink some trees in. Look at that. Beautiful. Oof. One of my favourite things to do is get 2 rocks next to each other like that and stick a little plant in the middle. There you go. Panna Ghar. It's an own individual building and it gets saved and what do I call that? Large modern building combining glasswork and new world wood with dense tropical rainforest. Perfect for jungle creatures and exhibits. Now, this isn't actually on the workshop yet. It'll go up at some point soon. 21 seconds some photos. Nice shot to finish on, folks. Right, so that is my Panna Ghar build. Obviously, I've got a long way to go. The inside is going to be a lot of terrain tool work, so I think I'm going to put this on the workshop as is, basically. So you'll get the building itself, and you'll get a bunch of trees, and a few rocks and stuff like that, and you'll just have to sink it into the ground. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to hop in game because I've redone the bridge a little bit. I made the water deeper. I added some mist. I added more trees, more fog, stuff like that. And that's about it though. I've just done some sprucing up. So we're going to hop in game. We're going to check out what it looks like now. And then we'll talk about what we're going to put in it. All that kind of stuff. Okay folks, here we are as promised, and because I'm a sucker for a bit of drama, we've gone into Tejid Cam. We can look around like this. For those who don't know, by the way, a little top tip, if you rename a staff member Tejid Cam, you'll be jumped into a first person view. The problem with this is, because in Planet Coaster you rename your guests, and you just turn into Tejid Cam, you can only do it for staff in Planet Zoo, and now all my staff are called Tejid Cam. So, yeah, anyways, as you can see, we have a new section. We have African Adventure over there, but we have our new Panna Ghar over here on the right. And you already get a feel for it because there's mist absolutely bloody everywhere. I really like heavily theming my areas, if that wasn't apparent. So we're going to slow down. We're going to be dramatic here. You're ruining the drama. So there's Panna Ghar. You turn to the right. And again, I really did want to emphasize this feel of... I might have to get rid of that Cobra just because we already got one. There's a Gharial here somewhere. There he is, looking cheeky. This will look better when there's more stuff over there as well. I really wanted to emphasize that feeling of walking through a rainforest, basically. So, you know, the mist does move, as you can see. It's kind of floating about. Might need to put some more knocking around, but yeah, it definitely has that exotic, crowded, wild rainforest feeling that I was absolutely looking for, I think. This is just 10 trillion bushes, to be honest. Just shove plants down, but there it is. You approach around the corner and there's Panna Ghar. So you can see the front of the building really hasn't changed. I didn't do anything to that. Most of the work was done on the sides and just adding more foliage here and adding the... I think that mist might be in the wrong way because it's pointing upwards. I might have to change that. I got some here, added a log to the water. I actually changed the water, I made it much deeper. Put some vines on the bridge. I also put those planks on the bridge. I think that makes a big difference. Those wood logs. The bridge is metal by default, but I just basically laid it over the rail and sort of duplicated it over multiple times. And that's what you end up with. Panna Ghar looking like that. I think it looks so good. I've got to say, I'm really, really happy. This is now, instead of the Gems block, this is my new favourite thing I've built. A little bit too bushy there. I have to move you as well. Yeah, that mist is definitely in need of fixing. It shouldn't be that way. It'll just be, I've put it on top of a plant or something like that, and therefore it's... Okay, I know we're looking at the tree. I've put it on top of a plant or something, so it's pointing the wrong way. Whoopsie daisy, that's fine. There it is, Panna Ghar Rainforest House. And there's all our trees and such, our little sunken log in there. A few... a little dark area over there. Now the cobra is quite hard to see because these massive trees are surrounding it. Really important. That's a kapok tree. One of the only ever good uses for a kapok tree is like covering a building like this. I might put another one over there. As you see, we've got our two entrances and exits. It'd be good to have like a little info boards and stuff here on the side. I'm not really sure about that. We'll have to have a little think as we put the path in. Obviously, I've not really done anything on the inside quite yet. And the idea is you're going to walk in and the paths are going to join together, and then towards one side there's going to be a Nile monitor, towards one side there's going to be terrariums. You're going to walk forward. At the back you're going to see this massive, it's basically going to go up on this gradual slope is the idea. There's going to be a lot of different elevation changes. I really want to play with the elevation in this building. It's a massive building. I want to use that, and I want it to feel like it's full of rainforest, like you've cut out a slice of rainforest and just boop, plopped it in the building basically. So you'll go in, you'll see the Nile monitor over here. I know it's not a rainforest animal, but at the end of the day, it's a lizard. Over here, we'll have our terrarium animals. Not sure if we're going to include all of them, but definitely quite a few. So we'll build like a really cool stony, relic-y themed area for those, probably. It's kind of, again, counteract the modern building on the outside. And then you'll walk forward. And then the idea is, in front of you here, there'll be a Gharial pool. Probably from about here. I want it to be big and expansive. All the exhibits are going to be huge. So from around here you'll have a Gharial pool. That is going to have underwater viewing. Loads of people have told me to do underwater viewing. I am doing it, I promise. It's going to be here at the Gharial pool, so it's going to be at the end. So you'll walk forward, you'll see them in here. You'll be able to walk up and around. You'll be able to look down into the pool. If you look up this way then, what you'd see, hopefully, is this tall sort of mountain with a path cut through it, a waterfall spilling down from the very top, and we'll put lots of trees up there, so it looks like there's another world like up there at the top that we can't even see. The waterfall spills from there down into the Gharial exhibit, and along the middle bit, where the people are walking, is also the lemur exhibit, and then you'll have a path here on the right and a path here on the left, so it kind of goes around like that. That's the plan. I also want to put a gap in it, in the mountain, so there's like a bridge over it, because bridges are cool. That's about it. That is my plan for the entire thing. It is going to be only 3 animals and some exhibits, but the idea is just to fill it with trees and stuff, really chock-a-block, just make it look like this massive emerald, essentially. And that's it, that's Panna Ghar. So, in next video, folks, we're going to work on the Nile monitor or the terrarium. We're going to do both of those first. That's going to be the next 2 videos. Then we're going to work on the gharial. Then we're going to work on the lemurs. I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. I think we probably have to do the lemurs terrain first. We don't have to build the actual exhibit, but I need to put the terrain in there because we need to know how much room we need and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really excited. I really like this so far. I think we might do this a path coming in that goes up as well. Again, I want to play with the elevation. Maybe you drop down into like a cave. Maybe we can do an underground thing. Underground things are cool for the terrarium animals. Have like an underground ruins or something like that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. We'll probably do the Nile monitor first because I've already got ideas for that, but new ideas for the terrarium, considering we could have above ground ones like for the snakes and stuff, and then below ground we have all our arachnids and insects. That's a cool idea as well. And then we'll work on the other 2 down the line. Right, so hope you've enjoyed this video. We're not going to be doing time lapses like this all the time. We're going to stick with our original method because I like talking far too much live. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'll see you lovely folks next time. Cheers, much love as always. Remember to hit the like button. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.